When you think of the paranormal and some of the most famous cases in Hollywood, whether you know it or not, they were from New York. From the town of Sleepy Hollow to Amityville, and of course you can't forget the Rolling Hills Asylum. But one thing that has been happening more often over the last few years is something that New York isn't really known for. Texas maybe, but not New York. Cannibals. Here are 3 cases of cannibalism in New York. Starting off this countdown is a man known as the Brooklyn Vampire, or the Gray Man. Albert Fish was convicted in 1934 on 3 counts of kidnapping and murder, but he had bragged about kidnapping and eating at least 1 kid in every state. He was suspected in about 100 cases that fit his MO almost perfectly. On May 28th, Albert kidnapped 10-year-old Grace Budd. He had met the Budds days prior to the kidnapping. Albert told Grace's mother that he was attending his niece's play at the school and asked if it would be okay that Grace accompanied him. The mother agreed and never seen her daughter again. November 1934, the Budd family received a letter anonymously detailing the murder, cooking and eating of her daughter, as well as the origin story of how Albert got started eating kids. This letter was what led police to the arrest and execution of Albert Fish. Fish pled insanity and claimed to have heard voices from God telling him to kill and eat children. By January 16, 1936, he was executed by electric chair in Sing Sing prison. Due to YouTube's guidelines, I cannot fully read the letter, being that it goes into such graphic detail of the murder, but I can read parts of it. On Sunday, June the 3rd, 1928, I called you at 406 West 15th Street, brought you a pot of cheese and strawberries. We had lunch. Grace sat in my lap and kissed me. I made up my mind to eat her. On the pretense of taking her to a party, you said yes, she could go. I took her to an empty house in Westchester I had already picked out. When we got there, I told her to remain outside. She picked wildflowers. I went upstairs and stripped all my clothes off. I knew if I did not, I would get blood all over them. I choked her to death, then cut her in small pieces so I could take the meat to my rooms, cook it, and eat it. It took me 9 days to eat her entire body. So, this next one is cannibal-ish. Now you're probably thinking, how could you be sort of a cannibal? Well, Gilberto Valle was dubbed the Cannibal Cop back in 2013 when his wife stumbled upon his email chats with people he met online. In these emails, he went into detail how he planned on killing and eating his wife and numerous other women. He was also charged with conspiracy to kidnap, based on these conversations, in which he made detailed plans to abduct, torture, kill, and cannibalize real women who he stalked and found using his access to police database. He wasn't the only one arrested in this case. A New Jersey man named Michael was arrested for paying Gilberto $5,000 to kidnap a woman in Manhattan and deliver her to his house, bound and tied, where she would be tortured, killed, and eaten. Old Creepy Gil was hit with a life sentence in 2013, but was released in 2014 after a lawyer said he was just engaging in fantasy roleplay and no real crime was committed. So now he writes horror books from his mother's basement in Queens. I personally never read the books, but from the reviews online, they are some of the most graphic, disturbing novels to ever be written. I'm extremely interested in what your thoughts are on this case. It's no secret that COVID really made people do crazy things and brought out the worst in a lot of us. But this guy takes the cake, or the lower intestine. Khaled Ahmed, 26-year-old, stabbed, killed, and dismembered and ate parts of his father. Still covered in blood, he then walked into one of my favorite bagel stores and told the cashier that he just murdered his father. Then went and spoke to a cop who was there, as if it was no big deal, explaining detail for detail how he ate parts of his father's chest. Now, I can't say how I've seen these photos, but I seen the crime scene photos, and the condition that the father was left in. You can clearly see his spine through the front of his chest. That's how much of him was eaten. Detectives said that he was eviscerated, and they were finding scraps of him all over this 2-story house. I want to announce the sponsor of this week's video, Brooklyn HorrorCon and Halloween Fest. From celebrity meet and greets to performers and artists from all over the East Coast, Brooklyn HorrorCon has a little something for everyone. Come meet Scout Taylor Compton from Rob Zombie's Halloween and Samantha Scuffadini from Terrifier and many more. Tickets and booths are on sale now at brooklynhorrorcon.com. And if you're a fan of the show, Amanda and I will be there, so come by and say hello. Brooklyn HorrorCon and Halloween Fest, October 23rd and 24th.